Well, did you know that Cincinnati Opera has been around for 103 years? In fact, it is the second oldest opera company in the country.
And it's opening its 2023 Summer Festival this week at Music Hall. And here to tell us all about it is Evans Mirageas, Cincinnati Opera's Harry T. Wilks Artistic Director. Welcome, Evans. Thanks for being here.
Yes.
What does Cincinnati Opera have on tap this week?
Well, 2 opening nights, which is a little bit rare. Most of the time we have our opening weekend, it's just 1 opera. But we have 2 this weekend, so you can see 2 in a week. On Thursday night, we open Lucia di Lammermoor, which is a tale of love and murder and betrayal. Oh, it's got all the things that opera needs.
Right.
It's originally in the Scottish Highlands, and it's a wonderful tragic story. And it's a virtuoso opera for the singers. I mean, it's not stereotypical, but it is everything that opera aspires to be. Full of beautiful melodies, huge chorus, wonderful ensembles, and a gripping story. And speaking of gripping story, the very next night, on Friday night, we open a work which is receiving its world stage premiere. It's called The Knock, and it's written by a Serbian-American composer by the name of Alexander Vrebalov and an American librettist by the name of Deborah Brevoort, based on extensive research into the lives of military wives. And The Knock is, as you might imagine it, is that knock that comes on your door with a soldier telling you that your spouse has been killed in battle. It's incredibly intense, extremely beautiful, but it's only an hour long. So it is a wonderful opera for a newcomer to try. Sadly, the first 3 performances are sold out, but there are more coming later in the season.
You know, and that's what I was going to ask you. For people who don't attend the opera regularly, which one of these you think would be the most, I guess, friendly for someone like that?
I think both of them are friendly. I think if we look a little bit later in the season to the most beloved comedy ever written, 2 performances on the 6th and the 8th of July, it's The Barber of Seville. So, of course, it's the Bugs Bunny cartoon with the rabbit with the scissors, of course. And it is the most wonderful comedy ever written for the world of opera. And it is just tons of fun. Lots of familiar music besides the overture and the Largo factotum. So if you were going to pick one of our 4 offerings this summer as a newcomer, I'd do The Barber and have some laughs.
And that's the 6th and the 8th?
6th and the 8th of July.
July, okay.
Yeah. Wow. And again, I mean, for someone who has never been to the opera, I mean, it's really an experience when you go. It's not just a show. I mean, it's very powerful.
The thing that I love to say always about opera is that it is the only art form, live art form, where so many theatrical elements come together. Plays, of course, have speech, and art shows have, the drama on the wall. Films and television are terrific, but they're 2-dimensional.
Right.
You're not living and breathing in the same room as the actors. And the things that opera can do, no other art form can do. Lucia is a wonderful example. So we have what are called arias, and you would know what an aria is. You just sing there and stand there and sing your heart out. But ensembles, and Lucia has the most famous one of them all, can be up to 6 people. And so in this sextet from Lucia, 6 different people are singing at the same time, all with different emotions. And yet you can understand what they're doing because the music, you may not understand every single word, but the music conveys the emotions of every single person on stage. You cannot do that in any other art form.
And that's what gets you to the emotion, right?
It is. I like to say that the air in the room changes. And sitting, now that we're beyond COVID and we can, or at least we hope we're beyond COVID, we can sit next to one another again in a theater. There is something about the communal experience of theater. You may be sitting next to someone who's been going to opera for 50 years, or you may be going with someone who's never been to an opera before. But when that soprano hits the high note, everybody's hairline changes. It's amazing.
And it's so cool, too, that when you talk at the Testament, you have a classical story like The Barber of Seville, but then now there are still contemporary operas like The Knock that are still being developed now. What do you think it is about this art form that has just made it transcend so many different generations?
I think we hit a new high point in the early 2000s because, and I'm not going to go into a long explanation of how composers developed in the 20th and 21st century, but basically, particularly in our country, composers woke up to the fact that they need to write melodies and they need to write stories that people love. And starting, I think I can date it to Jake Heggie's wonderful opera called Dead Man Walking, which is based on the true story of Sister Mary Pregene and her ministrations to that prisoner on death row. It became a runaway hit opera and opened a floodgate for other composers to say, hey, I can write melodies again. I don't have to write difficult stuff that only other professors can enjoy. And I can write plots that are pulled from the headlines. And that's what's happened to opera in the last 20 years. And Cincinnati Opera has been at the forefront. I've been here now 18 years. This is probably our 7th or 8th world premiere. And probably nearly every single season I have been here, we've done an opera that is either new to Cincinnati or brand new to the world.
We are hitting it out of the park, aren't we?
We are.
Yeah.
You know, I often say, and you've probably heard this before, Cincinnati is an amazing place because we box above our weight and we bat above our average for a city of our size.
Right.
For sure.
So
Well,
people want to get tickets. Where should they go?
Easiest is to do it online on our website,
Okay.
CincinnatiOpera.org. There are all the buttons that you need to click on to get tickets for any of the shows this summer.
So awesome.
All right, well, we look forward to it. Evans, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Pleasure, as always. Thank you. See you in the theater.
Yeah, we
Absolutely.
will.